from the Ticats Audio Network. This is the Ticats This Week.
Welcome to another edition of Ticats This Week. Rick Zamperin, Simoni Lawrence, Matt Bucknor. We have a lot to get to today. We're going to talk about the extreme heat that the Tiger Cats have been battling through this week at practice. We're going to get into the big battle that's coming up on Friday between the Tiger Cats and the Montreal Alouettes. Hamilton looking for win number one. Does Montreal have a loss coming in their loss column this coming Friday? That would be sweet. Before we get into all of that, let's tell you what is happening around the Canadian Football League this week. Edmonton in Winnipeg Thursday night. Of course, the Tiger Cats hosting Montreal Friday here on the Ticats Audio Network. Sask entertains BC on Saturday. And on Sunday, yeah, that's right, 4 consecutive days of football this week. We have Ottawa hosting the Toronto Argonauts. Let's get right to it. It has been a sweltering hot week in the Hammer. Heat warnings, high humidity, highs up into the early to mid-30s, humidex to the low to mid-40s. The extreme heat on Monday, Tuesday, for sure for practice was, let's just call it challenging for the coaching staff and the players and all the support staff. What was it like physically, mentally, when you guys had to perform in these kind of conditions? Matt, we'll start with you, and Sim, I want to get your thoughts on this one too.
First of all, we were training today. We were training in the heat today. I went for a 5K. I went for a 9K run today, so I was outside. But again, for these guys, it is challenging. It can be challenging as long as they got to be taking care of their bodies. They have to be pros. They have to hydrate is one of the biggest things. Of course, taking care of your body, where it's doing the little things, stretching, getting roll out, getting in the ice tub, cold tub, all of those things to make sure that these guys are pros. So they got to make sure that their bodies are ready to go for not only practice but ready to go for game day. And I think that's one of the biggest things, these guys doing the little things, not only during practice but of course after practice. Again, it's easier said than done. Of course it's hot out there, but this is you got to deal with the elements. You got to deal with the elements, deal with the heat, you got to deal with the cold too.
Simoni, I asked Bo Levi Mitchell after practice on Monday about the heat, and he basically said it's like performing with an oven on your head. When you played, you had a visor on. How difficult is it, both physically and mentally?
It's perfect. What do you mean, Rick?
That's what I'm saying.
It's perfect. Because I don't know how y'all grew up, but like when I grew up, this is how camp always is. Like 96, 95. Can you translate that for me, Matt, real quick? 96 degrees.
You know what? I don't even know what. I don't know what it is. I should know. But I don't.
That's like high 20s, low 30s. Yeah, that's hot.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm used to that. I'm used to training camp being heat and annoying, because the only thing that gets to you is you don't got time for the silly mistakes and people messing up because the heat's just like, bro, do it right, because we all know if you do it wrong, you do it long, But you got to get used to the elements. This is the best way to get in shape, not only physically, but mentally, because you're able to push through stuff at a challenging rate. Matt was over there talking about his little 5K. Let's clap it up for Matt on this little hot day, 5K. But, it's hot outside, and those elements is beautiful. So I did a 46 kilometer, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I was like, let me go get in this element to hit a 46 kilometer, because I know that I'm gonna lose way more weight working out in this kind of weather. I get more bang for my buck, Rick. You know what I'm saying? So when you're training, you just want to train your mind that everything is perfect. Like you have to see things in a positive way. Like if I say it's hot outside, in my head I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I'm not pulling no hamstring today. I'm gonna be nice and flexible. I'm gonna be able to move, my body feeling good. I don't gotta worry about nothing. You just look at all the positives, because you can find negatives in anything you're doing. But when you're competing at a high level, you got to find a positive. And, oh, man, I'm happy this sun is out. It's been freaking winter for almost 11 months here in Canada. I'm happy to see some sun. You know what I'm saying? And that's the mindset you have to have when you're competing, because the first sign of a quitter in military academy is an excuse. You know what I mean? Like, it's the guy that's like giving himself an out on why they're not going to perform. And I cannot stand that. It's like we all about to go through these elements. So put your mind in a positive mindset that we going to body bag these elements, because we all got to deal with it. So it's one of those things where like, yeah, it's hot. We all know it's hot, but who's going to perform the best when it's hot? Just like it's the fourth quarter. quarter. We know y'all tired. We know it's the fourth quarter. Who's going to perform best when we're in the fourth quarter? That's how I look at it, Rick. You got to turn into a positive. I'm happy it's hot. I probably lost like 5 pounds. Look at me fitting in my beautiful Hammer shirt. I feel good, baby.
So, Sim, we'll stay with you because, there are certain protocols that each team in the CFL has to adhere to when it comes to, extreme weather, whether it's cold or crazy hot. And one of those things on Monday was that the Ticats basically said, listen, we're not going to practice in pads today. Is that a treat for the players? I know there's certain rules that teams have to follow, but from a mentality standpoint, do the players look at that and say, all right, that's kind of cool?
I'm old school, Rick. I'm old school. Like, I think I should have played football in the 90s, you know what I mean? Because I think that the only way to practice is to get ready to perform. And if you're not practicing to perform, then you're not doing what you're supposed to do. But I ain't gonna lie, every once in a while it was like, yo, no shoulder pads. And I was like, oh, this about to be an easy day for me. You know what I mean? I ain't gotta do nothing but run around. Like, let me get my fits right. But I always like the shoulder pads because I can work on my blitz angles, turn my shoulder pads, work on blitzing and engagement, and just get a lot of practice and mental reps. But I understand what they have to follow by protocol and all that. But I'm old school, Rick. I grew up in 2-a-days in the hot summer heat in full pads, you know what I mean? And I appreciate the elements because, it makes a game way easier. You imagine practicing in full pads in these elements. The time game come around, you're going to be like, woo, let's fly. You know what I mean? I'm big on making things hard so everything else is easy.
Matt, that's a pretty good mantra to follow.
You know what? I'm in the same era Sim's in. Because when we practiced, we did back-to-backs. It was during training camp. You had practice, and then you went and got a sip of water, and then you're practicing again right away. So we're used to this. It's a breeze. When I hear there's no pads, oh my gosh, that's a breeze.
And then you get to see who been training. That's why I like coming to camp because you start seeing people get the blisters on the feet. Like, oh, he wasn't doing no field work. Look at him, his feet already hurting. Yada yada. And then you see people pull. Oh, he wasn't doing no. You know what I mean? Like if you play football, you pretty much can look at people and they tell on themselves by everything. That's why I love football because it's the ultimate team game, but this is the ultimate competitive game, but this also the ultimate I know what you was doing this summer game.
Simoni, we'll stay with you on this. Matt, you want to chime in on that before we move on?
No, I was just going to say, some guys used to use training camp to get into shape, and that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it.
That's how I got me a job.
That's it, because there's a guy that's waiting. There's a guy that's waiting that's hungry that's coming to take your job. So you better come ready to go. So day one of training camp, you're not using this to get into shape. You better be in shape when you walk into that door, or there's going to be a couple of hungry dogs that are going to come and take your spot.
Absolutely. Sim, what was the hottest game or practice that you were ever a part of? Whether it was CFL, NFL,
it had to be one
college.
of those Labor Days, Rick. I mean, I'm sorry. You even you asking me that question, my brain just said Labor Day, Labor Day, Labor Day, Labor Day. I always remember Labor Day was the peak hotness. You know what I'm saying? I had to psych myself out for those games, right? And we'd be out there in the middle of the daytime around 2:00, 1:00, sun's beaming hot, like you can't even, it's the best feeling ever, Rick. It's like you can't breathe, but it's like when you hit people, oh man, it's so nice because it doesn't it just feels like cushion on cushion. So I love smacking people in the heat because I don't feel it at all. Usually when it's cold outside, bow, I'm like, oh, whoa, that was kind of different. But when it's hot outside on Labor Day, I need Troy to play the clip from when we opened up the stadium on when I smacked this dude from Toronto on Labor Day, and it was mad hot, and I just started doing the Willie Beeman, the program dance and stuff because you just got to shake the heat off you. But it was one of those Labor Days. We got to look up the temperature on them Labor Days, but it was for sure one of those Labor Days. I had some hot camps and stuff, but those games, Rick, you so locked in, who cares? You know what I mean? Who cares what the weather is? That's just an excuse to say why you didn't do something.
Yeah. Labor Day is a great answer because, it's early September, still very hot.
Still hot.
1 o'clock start sometimes. The sun's at its highest point. Great answer. Matt, your hottest game or practice that you can recall?
There's a few. I know there was when we practiced out in Kamloops when I was with BC. It used to get pretty hot out there. But I used to wear long sleeves. I don't know about you, Sam, but during training camp, I was wearing long sleeves just to get more heat. That's how I wanted more heat. But
Yeah.
that was just the mindset. It's just like, let's stay. It's hot. I'm not gonna complain.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to get super cut up. I used to put the long sleeve on like a real hot day with the gloves because camp got easy, you know what I mean? Because you come out in pads and then the second half you get to take them off and stuff. So camp was so easy that I had to challenge myself even more. I'm putting extra clothes on so I can be in shape because I want to practice in the worst conditions. So when I'm playing football games, I'm just like talking crap and making noise and making plays because I'm not worried about nothing. Everything else that was hard, we handled that already.
Yeah. In terms of games,
It's not
though,
going to be.
I don't remember any games that were too hot. I'm thinking it would have to be some games in Hamilton. My rookie season at Ivor Wynn. There's the name right there. But
Now
but
we're
yeah,
going back.
right, yeah, going back to Ivor Wynn days. But yeah, I think that's there was a couple of those summer games for sure during whether during preseason or into the regular season too.
Hey, Rick and Matt, have y'all ever seen the crowd when it's hot too? Ooh. Hey, Rick, you take a look at that crowd, you get motivated real quick because everybody's sun skin looking beaming, everybody looking good, everybody showing off their gym body skin. I look at the crowd, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to perform in front of this. This is a nice looking environment. Because normally when it's cold, they all bundled up, you can't see nothing. But I take a little peek. That's why I got my visor on. I take a little peek in the crowd. I'm like, okay, bet, let's do this.
Hey, man, sun's out, guns out, right? And fans do that as well.
Out, right on the button.
All right. Hey, it's not going to be crazy hot Friday night when the Ticats take on the Montreal Alouettes, and you can listen to the game right here on the Ticats Audio Network. And Hamilton won't be wearing their all-black uniforms. In fact, they're going to be wearing the Made in the Hammer uniforms. We're kind of sporting the colors today on the Ticats This Week podcast. Slate gray, that gold beaming from the uniform numbers. Sim, you wanted to go off on these uniforms.
Man, I love these uniforms. The Made in the Hammer uniforms. It's like, let me explain this to you. Growing up, right, you know how your mom got you them sneakers and you wasn't allowed outside with them? You could only wear them to go to school, right? So those was your school shoes. These alternate jerseys feel like your fresh first day of school shoes, your fresh outfit, Nobody's seen this before. So you stepping out, you with some sauce. Like, you look so good. I remember we got to wear these jerseys in Saskatchewan. My boy Troy going to pull up the tape. My last football game in Saskatchewan, we got to wear the Made in Hammer jerseys. And the thing about the Made in Hammer jersey, it has that H on it, you know what I mean? And it says the hammer and all that. And it just represents Hamilton. So you stepping into another province and you repping Hamilton, you know what I'm saying? Like Hamilton, Made in the Hammer. So you go to those type of games and you got to give everybody what they ask for, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't come out here on some fresh jerseys. How many of y'all know that one football player? He got all the brand new equipment, the visor, the wristbands, and can't play worth a lick. You know what I mean? That used to frustrate me. I'm like, give me your equipment. I'll ball with it. But like, you get these new jerseys. We pulled up to Saskatchewan last time with our new jerseys. Man, we put it on them so bad. I'm talking about we was just flexing on them. We was getting sacks. We was getting forced fumbles. We was getting bat downs. We just put it on them. And I think a lot of that stuff is a psychological warfare a little bit because it's like, yo, these is brand new uniforms. You don't want to be the bum in the new uniforms. You want to look good when you step out wearing these beautiful, like, oh, it's just saucy. You remember, I don't know if y'all remember, but we had these jerseys in 2014. They was like our Steel City jerseys. We wore them the first Labor Day game in the city in Hamilton. Oh my, man, we put it on Toronto that day. It was a defensive game, but new outfit, new shoes, the boys are gonna ball in them. I'm happy for them that they get to turn up. They got the H on the side of the helmet as well too. Like, it's a real good environment. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do in those jerseys. Put them on the map.
Hey, listen, look good, Feel good, play good, right?
Play
That's
good.
kind of the mantra. Matt,
Hey, you forgot the most important thing.
what's that?
You said look good, feel good, play good,
Yep.
you get paid good.
All true. All true. Matt, do players get excited when there's like new uniforms or something you haven't worn, in a while?
I think there is a little bit of there's a little bit of excitement that's built. There's some anticipation too, because especially when you come to Hamilton, there's going to be one game that you're going to get to wear these uniforms. I unfortunately didn't get to wear these uniforms when I played the years that I was here, but when I did see them get debuted, I won't lie, I was on the other side of it. I'm like, ooh, the boys are clean out there. Huh?
Yeah.
That gray looks nice, but again, when you're competing, it's different, but. Yeah, players definitely get excited about these uniforms because a few guys, they're gonna get a new different pair of cleats. They're gonna get some guys that might have a little wristband. They might get actually you can't wear the colored visor. Some of those guys might get in trouble with that one. But you're gonna look for some new gloves. These guys are gonna swag it out for sure, and I think guys get excited for sure when it comes to these made in the hammer uniforms that they get to throw on.
Looking forward to seeing how the guys rep the uni. The fit is going to be tight, and hopefully at the end of the night on Friday, the scoreboard reflects how excited Hamilton is to be in these uniforms. Let's get to this, and I've been thinking about this all week. Hamilton coming off the bye. They've had a couple of weeks to prepare for the Montreal Alouettes, the coaching staff, the players in terms of scheming. Matt, we'll start with you on this one. Can we expect some new wrinkles offensively and defensively that the Tiger Cats are going to bring to the table because they've had this extra time?
I think for offensively, we'll start offensively. I think one of the things they're going to do is just try to clean some of the stuff up from that they had going from the last couple of weeks. I think their execution wasn't where they wanted it to be in some spots, and so I think they used this bye week for both on both sides, but just to clean things up. And of course, we haven't seen some action from some of the players. We're looking at we had Kenny Lawler who went off last week, but there's still some other dogs that they haven't even let out yet. So we're looking at Shamar Bridges. We still waiting to see like a big breakout game from Tim White, and so I think they're going to just find different ways to get some of those guys some action. I think that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing is how they get Tim White involved, how they get even Greg Bell, see what they do with him as well. And so I think they're definitely using this week to prepare, but of course just tighten up some of their wrinkles that they have in their playbook. And then on the defensive side, it's
yeah.
My mistake. Yeah, on the defensive side, it's just making sure that same thing. It's just tightening things up. I think one of the things with Coach Brent Monson, I played for him when I was out in Calgary, and one thing that he's one of the best at just his preparation. He's just a really good coach when it comes to his preparation and making sure that guys are ready to go. And so I think that's one thing that he's going to use this bye week is just to make sure that these guys are not only just physically prepared but mentally prepared in terms of their playbook and what they're going to do when it comes to executing on Friday night.
Yeah, coming off the bye week, Sim, a player's mind is refreshed, you're recharged, you're ready to go. Big install day on day number one, both on offense and defense. How many new things do you expect to see Friday night?
I expect look, the thing is with bye weeks, this is what happens. You get a whole lot of time to think about things and then see how you want to go moving forward. So the first thing that I'm thinking about during bye weeks is, are all my teammates going to be here? Because that's what you have to look at. You have to evaluate your team and see why you are the way you are, where you can get better, what doesn't fit you, how you can get better. The plays and stuff, you're not going to – the boys aren't even in town to be repping new plays. It's still a week from Monday to Friday game day because day one is Monday, and that's when everybody probably reported on Sunday or Saturday. So, they're getting off time. So it's not enough time to be like, all right, we're going to put in a bunch of new plays. But to Bucknor's point, what they do want to do is clean up the plays that they are already running and make sure that they're able to master it, and make sure that they're able to establish things that they want to establish. In my opinion, I would think of different ways to scheme up for the run, I know we do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of stuff to negate the run, like quick passes or screen plays and stuff. But in my opinion, this is like for a question later anyway, but they need to like establish that line of scrimmage, and the only way to establish the line of scrimmage is by running the football, is by dominating on the defensive side, because football's so simple, it gets like distorted sometimes, that you have to win up front to do anything. Up front sets up everything. Up front sets up the DBs in the back end. Up front sets up the wide receivers catching deep passes so you can get the ball to a Tim White, to your point, Matt, and like so you can get your ball to the Shamar, because you still got to go through all these reads and you got to be able to come back so you can get your little corner balls, so you can run the ball up the middle. Everything starts up front, and the only way you can start things up front is by dominating on the defensive line and establishing a running game so you can dominate and show your presence. So yeah, I mean, during the bye week, these guys are thinking about hopefully all my teammates are going to be here. I hope that I get the opportunity to clean up the things that I may have wanted to clean up in these past 2 games, and I can't wait to get this win under our belt.
Crazy stat of the podcast: since COVID, so the 2021 season to last season, the Ticats going into the bye have a record of 1 win and 10 losses, which is crazy to think of. But just as crazy, coming out of the bye, Hamilton is 9-2, so that bodes well for this Friday night as the Ticats host the Alouettes. Tiger Cats pregame, by the way, on the Ticats Audio Network kicks off at 6:30 with Bubba and Matt, and kickoff itself at 7:30, and hopefully we're going to see a lot of people inside the stadium in the Hammer on Friday night. So let's get to this because, yeah, go ahead.
You know why you come out the bye week? Because they light a fire under that butt, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of time to think about stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get reminded like, yo, I got the best job in the world right now. I get to come out, beat people up, and then just have a great time, you know what I mean? And then like you get to think about that stuff. So it's like, yo, I don't want to lose this opportunity to do something that only like 2% of the people in the world get to do, you know what I mean? So that stat makes sense, because it's like, yo, in this kid's game with King's Ransom, that if you continue one way, only one thing's going to happen. Everything's going to change. Everything's not going to be the same. So when you come out of the bye weeks, if you love your brothers, you're going to give a little more. We called it lanyap.
Matt, did you want to chime in there?
Yeah, because another thing, too, is you talked about the fire being lit, because another thing that the teams do during these bye weeks is they bring guys in. They bring some players in, and when the players are coming in, that's just a reminder like, hey, this guy's going to come and compete for your spot, whether that's at receiver, that's at running back, that's at DB, that's at O-line. They're bringing guys in, and so that fire should be there because guys are coming back home or coming back to the facility like, oh, this is a new guy in here.
Yeah, and that's how it should be.
That's how it should be, absolutely, because you're here to compete, and so it's just that it's that reminder like, oh, you know what, my job's on the line every single day. And I can't really take my foot off the gas. I got to be practicing and playing with some urgency.
100%. So like that's a great stat. I'm curious to see. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes complete sense, Rick.
Yeah. And bringing those guys in, that happens whether you're on a winning streak or a losing streak, right? 100%. Like bye week, player personnel departments are always thinking about how can we improve the roster.
Yeah, like Rick, I know this is off tangent, but when you play football, right, if you're a smart football player, you understand everything that goes on around you. Like people have jobs to do, like who's gonna be the next guy to replace Matt? Like who's gonna be the GM or the scout guy to replace Matt Bucknor? Who's gonna be the guy to replace any Simoni Lawrence, you know what I mean? Like that's what they want to do. Everybody's competitive, you know what I'm saying? And that's the atmosphere, right? Like you want to be the guy, like I found the player to replace this guy, that guy, this one filled in, because it's just not the football players that are ultra competitive. If you have a good organization, everybody's competitive. It's like I can get somebody better than that. Let me go find, you know what I mean? So, same page.
Well, we can't get any better than you guys on the podcast, so don't go anywhere. That's for sure.
Hey, and you know this, man.
Montreal has one of the best, if not the best, defenses in the CFL. They've given up the fewest amount of points. What can the Ticats offense do? And Sim, we'll start with you on this one. What can they do to crack the code against defensive coordinator Noel Thorpe and the Alouettes?
stay the heck out of. See, this is so contradicting because it's like I want to say run the ball as long as we're averaging that 9 point whatever carry a game by Bell, but you also want to not get in second and long because they're going to line up in deep zones and put that booty on fire. When I say put that booty on fire, I mean they're going to send all kind of exotic blitzes. They're going to look like they got 3 man rushing the passer. Then all of a sudden, 4 different linebackers come out and just come and smack you. Like these are the kind of games that quarterbacks won't admit that they kind of make them a little nervous. You know what I mean? And it kind of gives them butterflies because this is the game where you going against a type of defense like they don't care about your well-being, you know, like they take pride in the violence of the game. Like if they get an opportunity to hit you, they're going to knock your head off. You know what I'm saying? Like they play football overly aggressively, and that's all you can expect from a defense. So the way that the Ticats can do this is they have to show that they're not scared at all, none of that. And the only way to show that you're not scared of that is by winning the line of scrimmage. And you can't win the line of scrimmage unless you run the football. If you run the football, you can win the line of scrimmage. And in the CFL, it's a passing league, to be honest. So it's like, how else can we get our offensive line, the guys where it start from, to be able to enforce their will, you know, whether that's sending them on some little guard poles and like just getting them moving, getting the boys moving a little bit. But I think they got to establish the running game. The stars have to be the stars. Montreal has a bunch of star players on defense, so we have to be stars on offense. We have to have a great production game out of Greg Bell, and necessarily not even just running the football. He has to catch the ball, and he has to do something with it. You know what I mean? Because Montreal is one of those teams where they sit everybody back and they dare you just to dip and dump and beat them. You know what I mean? So they're going to have to get the ball to Greg Bell. When he gets a chance, he's going to have to make the first person miss, get up the football field, and you're going to have a big, great game out of Kenny Lawler catching the intermediate dig routes because they're going to be high. And at the end of the day, you got to find a way to get Tim White take the top off. You know, you got to use your weapons. You got all these weapons. I got to see it all. You know what I mean? I want to see how can you incorporate Tim White? How can you incorporate Kenny Lawler? How can you incorporate Shamar Bridges? How can you incorporate Bell? How can Bo make sure that everybody is getting enough touches to make the team go over? And of course, when you get a hot hand, you keep feeding that person. It's like the 2K button. If whoever got the hot hand, you keep feeding them until they don't got the hot hand anymore. But the point of this is to answer your question in a simple format. Identify who has the hot hand for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and use him until he can't go no more, and then find somebody else that has the hot hand and use him till he can't go anymore, and just keep letting the boys make plays. Put the emphasis on your players making plays so they can take some ownership of the team, you know, like let the stars make the plays.
I asked this same question of Bo Levi Mitchell, Matt, describing Noel Thorpe's defensive kind of philosophy. And he used words like, misdirection, confusion, smoke and mirrors. I'm putting a couple of words in his mouth, but Noel Thorpe is good at disguising what his defense is actually going to do.
Absolutely. And another word I'm going to add to that is opportunistic. And I think this defense has been very opportunistic in a lot of different spots. They're not only creating interceptions, but they're getting sack fumbles. They're getting fumbles and returning it for points, and they're putting points on the board. And so this has been a team that's been very opportunistic on the defensive side, and that's going to give a lot of offenses fits. And so I think that's one of the things that of course, you're not afraid of it, but you're aware. You need to be aware that this unit is they're going to try to force turnovers. I love that you used the word. You said they're being violent and they're aggressive, and that's they're playing the way the game's supposed to be played. And I think one of the things that Hamilton needs to make sure that they don't do going into this game is just don't turn the ball. It's very cliche, but it's don't turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over. If there is a turnover, please, no points. Don't let it go to points.
Yep.
And so that's
hitting battle, man.
Yeah.
Win the hitting battle. Win the hitting battle and see what happens. Because I tell you one thing, you win the hitting battle, either way, Hamilton's happy. the game's going to take care of yourself if you win the hitting battle. And that's and when you get into too much of this and that and this and that, the game will take care of itself if you win the hitting battle. If you look at like all of the Grey Cup champions and all the Grey Cup teams in the league and stuff, they either had a running game or they were winning the hitting battle. And that's the anomaly. Like, yes, it's a passing league, but the thing is, who can do the stuff that, like, the consistent stuff, like hitting, and hitting means blocking, winning the line of scrimmage, tackling, not just tackling, like hitting and getting them down on the ground, because a lot of these guys are getting put on the ground, like these big runs are because like people are grabbing and they're not hitting. When you hit somebody, Rick, they go down, you know what I mean? When you grab somebody, you don't know what could happen. Anything could happen. So they got to win the hitting battle.
So winning the hitting battle means winning your assignment and doing so with authority.
Exactly.
All right, looking ahead to Friday's game, Hamilton, Montreal, 7:30 kickoff. Tiger Cats pregame begins at 6:30 with Bubba and Matt. Of course, Simoni and I will have the call of the action. Which positional matchup, Simoni, do you find the most intriguing?
Oh, running back and linebacker.
Surprising.
Yeah. I mean, if you study this tape, it's running back. It's our running backs and then linebacker. I mean, you could throw the linebackers on Montreal. They're made for like this kind of like offense. If you understand what I'm saying, like this is their dream kind of offense. They want to play football against this kind of offense, and the reason is because like there's certain spots that you can drop to and make every single play that you want. You can dictate where the ball goes at linebacker, and with these two linebackers that the Montreal have with Beverett and Sankey, and for us, the way that you negate that is by not letting these linebackers be able to get in these deep windows where Kenny Lawler is, and that's by getting the ball to Greg Bell so he's able to shake and make some guys miss. And that's why I think I'm going to be watching that big time, like the linebackers and our running game and our intermediate throws to Kenny Lawler versus Montreal linebackers. Because if Montreal linebackers are active, it's going to be a long day. But if we can find a way to put it on them, we're in great shape.
Matt, Simoni picking running back and linebacker, or dare I say you're looking at receiver versus DB?
You know what, Rick? For the first time this week, I am not looking at the receivers and DB. Although those are good matchups, but I'm putting the ISO cam this week on the Hamilton offensive line against this Montreal defensive line, and they've been, like I mentioned, use the word opportunistic, but this has been a very ferocious front. They have 10 sacks already on the year. I don't know where that marks them in the CFL, but 10 sacks going into week 4. As a defensive coordinator, you should be pretty happy. And I'm sure Noel Thorpe is, patting those guys on the back. Of course, he's not giving them kudos all year long, but of course I'm sure he's happy. 10 sacks is a lot, and so that's putting a lot of pressure on this offensive line for Hamilton, because we want to see, are you guys going to be able to protect Bo? He's the guy, of course, and so this is going to be a pretty big test for this Hamilton O line. And I know that they have some new parts, of course, with Woodmansey starting at that center position, and he's been getting his reps, getting his feet underneath him. But he's going to have a pretty tough test this week. And Noel Thorpe, he does a really good job of, you talked about, and Bo talked about confusing the offensive line, and he's going to be doing that this whole game. So Woodmansey has to be really, really sharp with his checks, making sure that the rest of that line is on point, is sound throughout this game. And so I think that's going to be the ISO cam that I'm going to have this week. So not the DBs this week, Rick. No DBs this week. I'm going with the O line for Hamilton with that ISO cam.
It always starts up front.
Matt, we'll stick with you. Give me a player who's your X factor Friday night. This is a guy who you expect to make a big impact on the game. Maybe not necessarily scoring touchdowns, but having, imposing his will on the opposition.
Just one, right? Just one?
Just one. Okay. If you want to give two, I'll be lenient. You can give two.
Okay, I'm gonna say, the first one I'm gonna go with is Shamar Bridges. I'm saying Shamar. This is going to be Shamar Bridges. Just predicting this is going to be his breakout game. Of course, Kenny Lawler has been outstanding. He's been lights out. And I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of double teams. You're going to see a lot of action facing Kenny Lawler's way. So this is just going to open things up for another receiver this week. And I think that receiver is going to be Shamar Bridges this week. I think he's a guy. He's probably just chomping at the bit. He didn't have much action the last couple games, and I know he's a guy that's ready to go. And he performed really well last year. He led the team in receptions, yards. So he's going to be a guy that's going to step up. I think for this Ticat unit, offensive unit going into this week. And then my other guy, I'm going to go with Legio. It's going to be a special teams match, and I think Legio is going to be a guy that's going to another big X factor. He's been consistent last year, even up into this year as well. And so I think Legio is going to be another guy to keep an eye on too for this upcoming game.
Sim, before we get your X Factor, I'm going to chime in with mine. You know what? Let's get yours, and I'll add mine, because I have a feeling we might be on the same page on this one. Who is your X Factor Friday night?
The X Factor for this game is called continuity. For this team right now, there's not anybody that's going to be able to take something from a whole team unless the whole team is together to take something from the whole team. So when I say continuity, that means we need to play continuity offense for the defense. We need to play continuity defense for the offense. We need to play continuity special teams for the offense, get them field position. It's just we have to play as one. So when we say who was the player of the game, it was the Hamilton Tiger Cats. That's the way that we need to come back, especially after a bye week. That's how you want to win football games. You want to win the game. It's like, man, I don't even know who did that. Like, that was a good team win. And that's the best way to help your team rise to the next level and overcome everything they can overcome. Because in these situations, you want to see your whole team getting better and lift the whole team up together. So I don't think there's a specific X factor. I think everybody just got to be their own X factor. So we like, man, I don't even know who it was. This was a great team game, great team win.
I'll take that. You know, one name that I've kind of thought about for the entire season, but most importantly this week, because he's fresh, he may not have the statistics to back up his talent, and that's Greg Bell. And, you know, Montreal's rusty has always been stout. I think this might be a statement game for the Ticats offensive line that Matt kind of alluded to impose their will on Montreal, create those holes, and maybe not getting 100 yards rushing, but maybe getting 80 yards rushing and another 60 receiving. I think Greg Bell has a big opportunity this week to kind of show that he's the guy that can carry the ball when times get tough, on those second and short situations, break out a big run, make a big catch out of the backfield. I'm thinking some big things for Greg Bell. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I love that. Me, I love Greg Bell, but I think it's one of those things where, you know, it's one of those things Greg Bell's gonna have to, not only just Greg Bell, August, like it's gonna take a group of running backs to keep going at these guys, because you want to neutralize them so they're just not buzzing out into coverage and being uncomfortable. So it's going to be Augustine, it's going to be Bell, it's going to be like I said, it's going to be a group effort for sure.
Matt, do you want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, so I would chime in on both of your comments. Sim, I love that you talked about is it's got to be a team football game, because what that'll do is it just builds confidence moving into the next week, right, and weeks to come. Yeah. And I think when you have a team football game like that, and we've played in games like that where it's just every unit's clicking, it just brings that group together. Because sometimes, you know, you get into the weeks and you have these losses that have kind of stacked up on each other. Again, I'm not saying that the teams are pointing fingers. I don't know what's going on in that locker room, but sometimes that can happen, and there can be some type of division. So when you have that group coming together, it just brings that group together. It brings the unit as one together. So I love that comment. And then Rick, man, again, we talk about building confidence. I think this would be a huge confidence builder for that offensive line too, when they can get Greg Bell going. And then, of course, not that Greg Bell lacks confidence, but even just for him too, just to get some of those numbers back up to say, okay, you know what, I am a top dog in this league and should be respected.
Before we go, Davis Alexander is 7-0 as a starter, the Montreal quarterback. He's had a great start, obviously, to his Canadian Football League career. Hobbled in Edmonton. He didn't finish the game. He left with a hamstring injury, was not a participant at practice earlier on this week for the Alouettes. Is that something that players think about during the week? Not necessarily that, their backup's starting, but just that, hey, we may or may not face this guy, so we have to be on our toes.
I mean, yeah, you understand. And even if you do face him, you understand what kind of game it's going to be, too. He's not going to be out here running around and going crazy. Mm-hmm. The guy hurt his knee in 1 week, and then it looked like he blew his hamstring the next week. Man, if I don't see McLeod Bethel, I'm laughing because I'm about to have the game of my life because this kid's not running nowhere. If he, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, man, you left the game, and it looked like you popped your hammy. Everybody's seen what that looked like. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, go ahead, run your RPO. You're not pulling in this different types of games for sure. If McLeod Bethel's playing, when he pulls it, I don't care if he goes and tries to run. I don't do your thing, bro. I'll get with you later. So yeah, I mean, you do your homework every time, and I always check the injury report just because I check the team we play because I want to see who was in the cold tub.
Matt, is that something that you paid attention to in your playing days as well?
You know what? When there's a player that got hurt in the previous game, of course you make a note of it. But what you're also doing during your prep week, especially in the film room, is you're prepping for that backup quarterback too. So you're pulling up some film on Bethel Thompson. You're looking to see, some of his tendencies, trying to get a bite on what he does, the things that he likes to do. And so you're going to prepare for both. I think that's what the coaches are going to do for these guys. Most coaches do that. It's like, hey, we know what Davis is going to do. He's been undefeated. We'll pull up the film on him. But hey, here's some tape on Bethel Thompson too, and let's make sure that we're prepared for both. And so these guys, both coaches. These defensive coordinator for Hamilton has had a couple weeks to prepare for this too, right? And so that he's going to be very well prepared for this game, and I think it's going to be an exciting match. I like Hamilton's. I said this last week, and I truly believe Hamilton matches up well against, even though Montreal's been dominating, but Hamilton matches up really well on all three sides of the game going up in this week.
Yeah, this is a game, I think, that you throw the records out. Montreal 3-0, Hamilton 0-2. It's Friday night. It's under the lights. It's in the Hammer. It's made in the Hammer jerseys. Ticats coming off a bye week. Montreal's starting quarterback may or may not play. Who knows? But this is one of those, I think, statement games for the Tiger Cats. Let's see if they can make a big statement Friday night. 7:30 kickoff, June the 27th. Tiger Cats, Alouettes. The Tiger Cats pregame begins at 6:30 with Bubba and Matt. Kickoff with myself and Simoni at 7:30. And a new episode of Ticats This Week will drop next week. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your week.
This has been the Ticats This Week on the Ticats Audio Network. Like, follow, and get a deeper understanding of your Hamilton Tiger Cats.